Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dychronic, here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Xur, his random rolls, his location, my recommendations, all the little tidbits that you'd ever want to know about the Xur. We're going to talk about in this video. So you can find the Xur in his regular location on Io. Just head over to the Giant Scar, make your way into this little cave here, and he can be found right here. This is a high overview of everything that he does have available, in case this is all you cared about. And one thing I wanted to talk about before getting into all the little bits and pieces is right now, Bungie has unlocked the double rewards for Nightfall ordeals. It's the first time they've ever done this, and if you are looking to complete your exotic collection, or you're just looking for high-level exotics with high stat rolls, you're gonna want to do these Master or Grandmaster Nightfalls, because these things drop exotics like hotcakes. On top of that, they dropped enhanced mods, they drop ascendant shards, they drop enhancement prisms, they drop everything that you're gonna want, and they do it really often. Out of 4 Master Nightfalls, I had 7 exotics, all different types, which was kind of crazy. So if you haven't done it, go in and do those Master Nightfalls. I don't believe the Grandmaster is really worth it, considering it takes so much more effort and power level and time, but the Masters you complete every 15 minutes. It's excellent. Moving on to the weapon today, we have the Riskrunner, one of the most fun weapons in the game, not only in its ornamentation, in which they have a lot considering it came out with the base game, but also in its use. This is going to be one of those excellent fun weapons to use in regular PvE. However, I would not recommend it for endgame PvP. If you've never heard of it, Arc Conductor, when you take arc damage, the weapon does more damage and resists 50% of all arc damage, and kills with the weapon extend this overcharged state. On top of that, when you have the Arc Conductor active, you also have a chance to chain lightning to nearby enemies and then return entire ammo back to the magazine. So infinite clip, extra damage, extra lightning to nearby enemies, and you take half arc damage. There's a lot to love about this exotic. However, it depends on being hit by arc damage. Yes, you can hit yourself with a pulse grenade yourself and of course activate that extra damage, the extra chain lightning, but there's a lot of problems that make this not endgame viable. Firstly, it does not have a lot of range, it bounces a lot, it's very difficult to use and stay safe from the enemies. Secondly, you cannot depend on the enemy having arc damage, which the best part in my opinion is resisting half of all arc damage. So it's good against Taken, not good against if the enemy doesn't really have much arc damage. And finally, it is an exotic primary. Personally, I think the exotic specials and heavies are going to be your best bet these days, and you do lose out on a lot without using them. That being said, this weapon is a lot of fun, and I'd highly recommend you get it if you don't have it. Moving on to the Hunter exotic, we have the Ahamkara Spine. Its main perk here increases the trip mine grenade duration and blast radius, and ability damage grants trip mine grenade energy. The idea here is you want to use Way of the Outlaw, the 6-shot golden gun, which also has an explosive proximity knife. So you throw down both the proximity trip mine grenade and the explosive proximity knife on the same spot, and if an enemy goes by it, they will guaranteed die, because a trip mine does around 95% of people's health. And both will give you ability damage, which grants trip mine grenade energy. And then finally, if you use this with the new Traveler's Chosen, you can actually get ability energy to top off your grenade if you don't get the full grenade, allowing you to do even more ridiculousness. For the Titan exotic, we have the Wormgod Caress. Now these used to be broken, crazy overpowered, that was deactivated and nerfed and changed like 6 different times, as well as all of the other melee based damage exotics. However, these days it is kind of lukewarm. If you've never heard of it, melee kills increase melee damage for a period of time, and additional kills extend the duration and increase the effects. I believe it's up to 5 stacks, and for a very long time it has done a ridiculous amount of damage. However, when you combine it with things like 1-2 punch from shotguns, or your melee ability, or some other thing in your subclass to increase your melee damage, include that with doing extra damage with tractor cannon, and then maybe a second 1-2 punch stacking on top of each other, and you can 7 punch Zolmak, the dungeon boss, which obviously is ridiculous, and that's why they were nerfed. I have not used them in a long time, so I cannot really say how effective they are, but my assumption is that it is melee based, and that is difficult in end-level play. As far as the roll goes, priming and recovery is more of a PvP thing, always good to have, but I'd like to see a lot more in strength, like 20 to 30, so maybe a subpar roll for a very subpar exotic. And finally, for the Warlock exotic, we have Apotheosis Veil. Its main perk here, immediately regenerate health, melee, grenade, and rift energy upon activating your super, and nearby allies recharge your class ability faster. And something that I'm very confused about, as they mentioned in a TWAB many months ago, is that they were changing this exotic to specifically have a higher base intelligence, where it was guaranteed to have at least 10 intelligence or something like that, and this actually has the minimum of 2. So I'm very confused. It's supposed to have a minimum high intelligence, and that was probably the best part about it, but it doesn't. Its main perk, in my opinion, is not really that great. It does not have a cool ornament to make it better, and honestly, I don't really need all of this ability stuff when I activate my super. I'd rather have something more impactful. However, there have been some glitches to kind of take advantage of this, where you pop your super, then grab a ball, and then it won't activate the super, but it will still give you abilities. There's a bunch of ways to take advantage of this. As far as the role goes, high discipline is nice to have, high mobility is nice to have. I would like to see more recovery, and definitely I'd like to see way more intelligence. You want to have maximum intelligence to max out the use of this exotic. So probably subpar roll for one of the worst exotics in the game, to be sure. Outside of that, make sure you're picking up your 5 of Swords for high score Nightfalls on the regular Nightfalls, picking up your Invitation of the Nine, which I've actually finished on this character, for some powerful gear and lore, and then finally exotic engrams. Pretty much every single exotic engram guarantees you an exotic that you do not have from any of the world drops, and it guarantees it with a high stat roll. So when I go to my new one, you can see that it's a 67, god damn, a 67 stat roll. It's actually a pretty decent distribution, especially for the hunter, so I might end up keeping this. My other one is more recovery based, but I do have recovery mod, so its base is 64 and this is 67. I mean, that's pretty good actually. I might actually transfer over. Well, yeah, that's gonna be the end of it. If you guys did enjoy, my name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Good one, Jay.